The horses hear it first. Long before the travelers on the Cariboo Wagon Road see the lanterns of their destination, they catch the smell of wood smoke drifting through the pine forest. Leather harnesses creak. Iron rims grind against frozen ruts. Somewhere out in the darkness, a sleigh runner snaps like a gunshot. It is the winter of 1868. British Columbia has been a colony for barely a decade, and the goldfields to the north have turned this wilderness trail into one of the busiest roads in North America. Every week, freight wagons haul flour, whiskey, mail, mining equipment, and sometimes entire fortunes towards the boom towns and cross paths with those who have little more than frostbite and debt. The roadhouse sits exactly where exhausted travelers need it, and the lamps stay lit late. Here, teamsters thaw beside cast iron stoves while ranch hands shovel snow from the barnyard. Telegraph operators tap messages through storms, while strangers upstairs share narrow beds under Hudson's Bay blankets, listening to wolves somewhere beyond the corrals. Though not all nights will be restful, because many will wake suddenly with the feeling that someone is standing beside their bed, while women staying at the roadhouse will describe the sensation of fingers brushing through their hair while they slept. Most laughed it off, but as the years passed on, one detail appeared again and again for over a century and a half of visitors. They said they saw a man dressed in dark clothes watching from the corner of the room. Never fully seen, always smiling, waiting to be noticed.
In the downstairs room, we have this gentleman who we call the Blue Man. He has his own room. He loves flirting with women. And if you're skeptical, he'll even drop what feels like cobwebs on your face. And we call him the Blue Man because in 2017, there was just a single chair in that room. And our tour guide, she was walking out of the building. She goes to turn and look to see if there was anybody in the other room, and she sees this black shadow sitting on the chair with a blue outline. And he's pointing at her like this, like, come here. So she did what anybody would do. She kind of screamed and got out of the house. But that room is weird because there's a closet there. And in that closet, strange things happen. Many people believe there might be a portal there.
I'm Nadine Bailey, and this is Haunted Canada. Today, we're headed deep into the interior of British Columbia to a museum that sits on 8 acres of Cariboo land where 13 buildings have more than just artifacts inside. On our journey, we'll be joined by Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio, to share stories that refuse to be forgotten. This is Gold, Blood, and Buried Secrets from the 108 Mile Heritage Site. Before the gold was ever found, there were no roads to the Cariboo, only forest, only mountains. And the narrow trading paths indigenous nations had traveled for generations through the interior of what would become British Columbia. After all, this is the ancestral land of the Secwepemc Shuswap Nation, Dakota Nation, and Dakal Carrier Nation. Then, in 1861, gold was discovered around Williams Creek and Barkerville. And almost overnight, thousands of men began pushing north into the wilderness, chasing rumors of fortunes buried beneath freezing water and black mud. American prospectors came up from California. British immigrants arrived by ship from Victoria. Chinese miners crossed the Pacific and then walked hundreds of miles inland carrying supplies on their backs. Ranchers, gamblers, saloon keepers, missionaries, fugitives, all of them traveled for the same impossible promise, glittering somewhere in the Cariboo Mountains. But to reach the gold fields, they had to survive the journey first. The terrain was brutal and the weather was punishing. Supplies ran out fast, and men and women died on the trail, not from gunfights or claim jumpers, but from exhaustion, starvation, and the unforgiving wilderness. The colony, led by Governor James Douglas, ordered the construction of one of the greatest engineering projects in North America, and that decision would change the entire region forever. The Cariboo Wagon Road cut through the mountains, valleys, forests, and stretched over 650 kilometers, connecting Yale in the south to the gold fields of Barkerville in the north. It was completed in 1865, and every stopping house or frontier inn along the route was known by its distance: 70-mile house, 93-mile house, 100-mile house, etc. Lillooet, a small town that served as the official mile zero starting point for the trail, and today's destination was 108 miles from there.
I live on the Gold Rush Trail. Okay, the Gold Rush Trail is probably one of the most amazing stories in Canadian history. That's when the gold rush hit. Now, it started, that trail, in Virginia City, Nevada, as the Silver Rush, where they found silver in the mountains of Nevada. And then, all of a sudden, as the prospectors and the miners moved north, they realized there's gold in them there hills. If you push that trail north, it goes into California. And that was around 1849. And for sports fans out there, that's how the San Francisco 49ers got their name, is because of the 1849 gold rush. And that's why their colors have gold in them, because it's a tribute to the 49ers who really developed Northern California. In U.S. history, you know about the Oregon Trail that everybody went through in order to move north because that's where the gold was. And then it goes into Washington State and then into British Columbia. And the Gold Rush Trail goes right through the Cariboo region where I live, right up north into northern British Columbia, eventually entering what we, back then they called the Klondike, which was Alaska, Yukon, and the Northwest Territories. And there was gold all over the place.
That's Dave Scott. He's the host of 108 Mile Ghost Tours and Spaced Out Radio. And he says that travelers who arrived at the ranch felt they could finally relax. They could stable their horses, get a hot meal, and sleep in something resembling a bed as they prepared for whatever came next. But as the gold rush grew and money flowed, the area attracted something more nefarious. And we'll get to that in a second, because today you can walk through the same buildings those seeking fortunes did over 150 years ago.
The heritage site has been around for 50 years, okay, where the heritage site is a culmination of buildings and historic sites from around the Cariboo region that have been brought into one location in order to try and preserve the richness of the Cariboo going back 100 plus years. You know, from the time of Captain Watson and his love of Clydesdales to the McNeil House, which is, you know, it used to be a hostel before the railways started coming up, before cars started, people started traveling in their cars, realizing, oh, hey, you know, I can, instead of taking the train or taking a horseback, I can now drive up these roads and I can go see my relatives up in Prince George or Vanderhoof or Fort Nelson or wherever it may be. And so the heritage site has brought all these really cool, interesting buildings together onto the site and from all over the Cariboo region. And we've got 13 buildings. We're looking to add more. And each one of those buildings comes with its own story. With that, my job with Haunted 108 and doing the ghost tours has been to connect with the spirits that are there. Some spirits are lingering from years beyond. Other spirits are transient spirits that you may only ever communicate with once. But the fact is, we get a lot of people coming through who just want a handle of what is going on.
We'll start our tour today at the Post House, which is one of the oldest buildings on the site. It was built in 1867 and served as an inn, made up of heavy logs and small windows, but then, between 1875 and 1885, something darker took over. The 108 Hotel was run by Agnes and Jim MacVee, along with Agnes's brother-in-law, Al Riley. On the surface, everything looked in order, but in reality, Agnes MacVee was running something far more sinister. Their first scheme involved abducting young women. They would lock them in rooms upstairs and would sell them to minors passing through town. For those returning with gold, they had a different scheme in mind. Minors arriving exhausted after weeks on the road, with their boots frozen stiff, pockets heavy with dust and nuggets from the creeks. Some never left. Official records from the period are incomplete, and historians still debate how much of the story is true. But in the Cariboo, people still tell it in whispers.
Now, the legend of Agnes MacVee is Agnes was apparently someone who came from Scotland. She allegedly murdered a couple people in Scotland, and before her trial and arrest, she escaped and caught a boat to Canada. She eventually made her way across to British Columbia, where she was registered, because you had to register back then when you came in New Westminster, which was the capital of British Columbia at that point. We know she registered in New Westminster. We know that she made her way to Kamloops, British Columbia, because she was registered there, which is Kamloops is about a 2-hour drive south of us. And then the trail goes silent on her. So it's alleged that she actually made her way up the Gold Rush Trail and owned the 108 Mile Post House. Now, what's interesting about Agnes is legend has it that she murdered 62 men who were coming down and stealing their gold. It said that her henchmen, which included her husband and a farmhand, were burying bodies and throwing bodies in the 108 Mile Lake, okay, and all sorts of stuff. There's no evidence of that, but she would steal their gold.
Dave said that by the time the trio was finally caught, more than 59 people had been killed and buried on the grounds and around 108 Hotel. It is estimated that over $150,000 worth of gold was stolen from victims and then buried somewhere on the ground. After their arrest, the original 3-story hotel was torn down, but in 1892, its logs were used to build the current post house. According to local legend, William Walker became consumed by the stories of buried gold. Walker was not some wandering prospector. He was respected, educated, a telegraph operator who understood the importance of order on the frontier. At 108 Mile, he expanded the property into a proper stopping place with a general store, telegraph office, barns, blacksmith shop, and ranching buildings. Travelers trusted him, but people later claimed Walker spent an unusual amount of time investigating the old sections of the property connected to Agnes MacVee, especially at night because he was looking for buried gold. According to one local account, workers discovered hidden spaces beneath the floorboards. Another story claimed Walker ordered sections of the original structure dismantled entirely in his search. It's unknown if he ever found gold, but stories persisted that Walker kept private notes about strange events inside the house after he took ownership. Footsteps in empty rooms, voices traveling through the walls late at night. the sensation that someone was watching from the downstairs hallway. Walker supposedly believed something inside the old house did not want to be disturbed. By the time Captain Jeffrey Watson arrived at 108 Mile in 1908, the Cariboo Road had become a ghost of itself. The roaring gold rush traffic was gone. The great era of wagon caravans and fortune seekers had faded into memory. Telegraph wires hummed over empty stretches of road where freight teams once stood axle to axle. Old roadhouses collapsed quietly back into the forest. But 108 Mile endured, partly because of William Walker, and partly because some places refused to disappear. Captain Jeffrey Watson came from another world entirely. He was British-born and educated. Watson had been an officer of the Royal Navy who arrived in the Cariboo carrying both money and ambition. He purchased the property from the Walker family and transformed it into one of the largest ranching operations in the region. To outsiders, Watson represented progress. He commissioned a barn that stretches 160 feet, nearly 49 meters from hand-hewn log construction. It is to this day one of the largest log barns of its kind in Canada.
Captain Watson was very much involved with his horses. And then when he retired from the military, and then in World War I, he actually got called back to duty during World War I by the British military, and he unfortunately ended up passing away in one of the battles in a place in Belgium called Ypres. What was very interesting about Ypres was the fact that he didn't want to be there, but he felt it was his duty. And the other part of his duty was his wife actually hated living in the Cariboo region here. She hated it. So she went back to Britain. And he was like, well, we're still married, but if you want to go live there, I'll come visit you. But I'm going to have my duty here. He went and bought like 11,000 acres of property so he could collect Clydesdale horses and other animals. And he had up to 100 Clydesdale horses at one time. So he commissioned his friends to build what we call the Watson Barn, which is this beautiful barn that is part of the heritage site now. It did come from a different location in a place that we call 105 Mile.
By 1979, the land had changed hands many times. The gold rush was a century old, and the historic buildings that had witnessed it all were aging, and some dangerously so. That year, the property was purchased for $1 by the 100 Mile and District Historical Society, who took on the responsibility of preserving not just the buildings but the stories inside them. Across the 8 acres now stands 13 historic buildings. Some were built here, while others were carried from elsewhere. The 108 Mile Heritage Site is not a recreation. These are real buildings, real homes and rooms where people lived, worked, slept, and died. Dave Scott has been running the ghost tours at the 108 Mile Heritage Site since 2017.
In 2015, when I moved up here, I had some friends from the coast come up here who were paranormal investigators. And I took one of the guys to the museum, and he was a very spiritual man, and he ended up seeing a couple of ghosts there. He's like, Dave, this place is so active. He goes, has it ever been investigated? I said, I don't know. I just moved here. And we started looking into it. Eventually got a ghost hunt there with my friends, and they went in there, and I really had no understanding of the paranormal or ghost hunting or whatever. And it ended up being very haunted. And we had some strange things happen there. Every building that we have has its own spirit. Our post house is very haunted. We get a lot of transient spirits. We even have been able to get some of the spirits to actually talk and be a part of it. And it has been very interesting because we've talked to a lot of ghosts there, number one, but number two, we've also been able to have interactions with an alien. A picture in 2018 of an alien was actually taken in the post house. It was taken by a ghost hunter called the Paranormal Road Trippers. In this photo, you'll see a doorway here. That's the entrance to the bottom floor of the post house. You will see a spinning wheel here, an old yarn spinning wheel. Well, what caught their attention when this photo was taken was the fact that they were using one of those SLS cameras that turns everything like a purple pinkish hue. And they took over 500 photos on the site that night. And there was one photo that did not have the coloring in it, and it was this photo. So they were trying to figure out why until they zoomed in. And if you look behind the wheel, there is the head of an alien staring at you with the big black eyes.
Downstairs has its own permanent resident, a spirit Dave calls the Blue Man.
He loves flirting with women, and if you're skeptical, he'll even drop what feels like cobwebs on your face. And we call him the Blue Man because in 2017, there was just a single chair in that room. And our tour guide, she was walking out of the building. She goes to turn and look to see if there was anybody in the other room, and she sees this black shadow sitting on the chair with a blue outline. And he's pointing at her like this, like, come here. So she did what anybody would do, and she kind of screamed and got out of the house. But that room is weird because there's a closet there. And in that closet, strange things happen. Many people believe there might be a portal there.
That portal could be why William Walker believed that there was something living inside with him. At first, the disturbances were subtle. Workers complained about tools disappearing and then turning up in locked rooms. Horses refused to enter certain sections of the barn after dark. Guests sleeping downstairs woke up claiming a man had stood silently at the foot of their beds before vanishing into shadow. Then things became worse. One ranch hand reportedly quit after hearing knocking from inside a sealed storage closet in the middle of the night. Another swore he saw blue light beneath a doorway after everyone else had gone to sleep. Walker himself allegedly began avoiding one room entirely, the downstairs room, the same room visitors now associate with the Blue Man. And after William Walker died in 1936, the sightings did not stop, and Dave says the encounters also often include unique scents.
So in our last ghost tour, all of a sudden it smelled like old lady's floral fruity perfume. And it wafted right through the room and even stuck on some people. There was nobody spraying a perfume bottle. Because one thing a lot of people ask about our ghost tour at Haunted 108 is they will ask, well, do you have people, hiding behind corners like a carnival act going, boo, or gotcha, rawr, whatever it may be? We don't have that. We don't have any of that. This is all natural. So in that closet, people have smelled everything from perfume to food to garbage to a real stinky outhouse. It comes with a plethora of smells. And we don't know how they're happening.
Some paranormal investigators today believe the repeated activity across generations point towards what they call a residual haunting, where energy somehow imprints into a place through trauma and repetition.
In the upstairs, we have a young lady named Mary, who we believe was one of the young ladies of the night. And we also have a gentleman in the other upstairs bedroom. We call him Willie. Willie will actually let you touch him, and you could feel his energy on what he feels like. And what's weird about it, when I go to touch him, my hand gets cold. I can feel coldness on my hand. But other people who go and touch his energy, they'll say it's much warmer than their other hand. So it's a little bit polar opposite.
Long before visitors spoke about the Blue Man or the unique smells of the site, the most feared spirit of the 108 Mile House was said to be Agnes MacVee herself, or at least the woman history remembers by that name. The real Agnes MacVee remains difficult to separate from legend because facts have blurred into frontier folklore, but in the Cariboo, people still tell the same story, that Agnes MacVee was beautiful, charming, and utterly ruthless. Although there's no hard evidence to confirm the murders by the early 1900s, ranch workers around 108 Mile already claimed Agnes never truly left the property. The sightings usually happen in winter, always late at night. People describe seeing a woman in dark clothing standing silently near windows or at the edge of the old road before vanishing into the trees. One account from the 1920s tells of a ranch hand returning from the barn during a snowstorm when he saw a woman standing near the well behind the house. At first, he thought she was a traveler. Then he realized her dress belonged to another century. He later swore her face looked wrong somehow, as though viewed through moving water. Dave isn't sure if those claims are Agnes.
I could tell you, I have never interacted with Agnes. Other people have. I'm not sure if she's an actual ghost because there is no evidence that she actually was in the 108, or if we created a tulpa because so many people for 50 plus years have been talking about Agnes that we actually created her, and now spiritually she exists because we've put the energy into it. They feel that they have been pushed, they've communicated with her. They feel that she is very dark, very disturbed on the other side. They have been touched, they have been poked. I've never had any of that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, it just has not happened to me. And when I look, I try and be pragmatic about things. I'm not somebody who all of a sudden jumps out and says, oh, that's a ghost, that's a ghost. I don't do that. But with Agnes, she has become a tourist attraction. There isn't a person that comes on that tour who doesn't know about Agnes. Somebody always knows about Agnes.
Agnes might be one of the main attractions, but not everything at the 108 Mile Heritage Site carries her darkness with it.
The McNeil house was originally in the 105 Mile, and it got moved about 40 some years ago to the 108 Mile Heritage Site. And this is a 2-story house. It's very large. It used to be a home, and then it became like a hostel for traveling salespeople and people still making their way up to the north. And it was kind of like a hotel. In that house, we have some pretty cool things that are happening, including a resident ghost cat that likes to run around. We've actually got pictures of the ghost cat. We've caught the cat meowing on audio. We've heard, or people have been scratched by the cat. Other people, especially if they're not wearing, as we get into warmer climate here, people will wear shorts. And we've had people who feel like a cat is rubbing against their shins.
The old Cariboo Road is layered with ghosts. Some belonged to history. Others belonged to rumor. And at the McNeil house, there's a spirit that, unlike Agnes MacVee, whose legend carried violence and greed, Lady Evelyn carried an entirely different kind of sorrow. The story begins sometime after Captain Geoffrey Watson took over the property in 1908. Watson had transformed 108 Mile into an elegant ranching estate compared to the rough frontier stop it once was. Wealthy visitors occasionally traveled north from Victoria or Vancouver to experience the romance of the interior wilderness. Lady Evelyn, according to local accounts, arrived from England. Some versions call her the daughter of a wealthy aristocratic family. Others claim she was connected to Watson himself through distant relatives or social circles in Britain. No official record has ever fully verified her identity, but oral histories around Cariboo insist she was real. Young, beautiful, and deeply unhappy. She arrived expecting adventure, and instead, she found isolation and endless winters. Then came the tragedy. The details change depending on who tells the story. Some say Evelyn fell ill during a brutal Cariboo winter and died suddenly at the ranch. Others claim she took her own life after receiving devastating news from England. One darker version insists she disappeared entirely, vanishing somewhere near the lakes surrounding 108 Mile without explanation. But after her death, however it happened, people claimed she never truly left.
We have in the ladies' lounge, in the ladies' parlor, we have a lady who we call Lady Evelyn. We've been able to figure out that that's what she likes to be called, Lady Evelyn. She gets really active when somebody plays her piano. So one of the things we do with our groups is we always ask, does anybody here play piano? And Lady Evelyn will walk right behind the person and watch over their shoulders as they play the keys on the piano. And what's really cool is we can actually see through our meters and our gauges that her energy is right there watching. We also have a child ghost in the house who we've called Emily. Now, Emily is a little funny because sometimes she shows up, sometimes she doesn't. She loves elderly men, like grandpa type men. She will actually go and hold people's hands, but she loves to play. And if we have a group of people that are around, she will come running in through the room. She'll set off all of our meters, and then she'll disappear. Then she'll come back and, just in a typical hyper nighttime kid activity. She loves it when people go there. We have a lot of fun with her. And then, of course, we get a lot of transient spirits as well, because it was a hostel. So there's a lot of people who are still stopping by.
With a site so active and with so many spirits, it's no surprise that Emily isn't the only ghost child on site.
We do have one building that we call the bunkhouse. In the bunkhouse, we have a mom and a son. The mom's name is Laura Lee, and the son's name is Billy. Now, Billy loves to come out and play, and we make sure that he has toys around, and he likes to light up the gear. And it's very interesting because if we're using K2 meters, you can always tell the difference of whether you're communicating with Laura Lee or you're communicating with Billy, because Billy will stand just above waist high, belly button high on most of us. And if you go a little bit higher with the K2 meter, you'll see the K2 meter will stop going off. But if you go lower, you can see where his height begins. The chances of actually getting spirit activity from Billy and Laura Lee is very limited because, let's face it, when you have a child, what time does a child go to bed? Child usually goes to bed at night. There was no alarm clocks back then, saying time for bed. You went to bed at dark. So we sometimes have to be wary that Billy has a bedtime. But otherwise, if it's before his bedtime, He will actually come out and play, and we will actually have him join us, and he loves the tour. He loves dealing with the people. He loves dealing with a lot of interesting things, especially with the more gear we have out, the more active he is.
Our next stop on the tour is located across the site, past the church to the Watson barn, where Dave says the spirits found inside are truly unique.
We'll get the horses, we'll get dogs. You'll see like the shadows of dogs running around. We will get people who've been in there. Like some of them are taking care of the horses. We also believe that Captain Watson is there as well. And one of the really cool things about it is I actually caught a photo of Captain Watson in 2019, but I didn't know it was him. And what was freaky about that photo is in 2024, I actually ended up seeing a picture of Captain Watson for the first time. And it actually gave me shivers in trying to look at him and look at the photo at the same time.
But Captain Watson and his horses are not the ones that concern Dave the most. Upstairs on the catwalk, there is someone else.
Now, what's interesting about this photo is when you zoom in on this gentleman, you will actually see that he has a big scar on his face. And we have photographed him twice. He doesn't like his picture being taken. We don't investigate him. We don't know his name. We don't know anything, nor do we care to. All we know is that because he is somebody who knows his power, we make sure that he is left alone. We make sure that he has an offering of whiskey. We make sure that he has an offering of tobacco for cigarettes. He has a little bit of everything right there for him to make sure that he does not attack people. He's cordial with me now, but he will make sure that we are together. And what I mean by together was that we're on the same page. And I will let him know that, hey, we're bringing people up here. Okay, don't worry. We're not going to bring him on your catwalk. You're safe. And I would say almost every tour we see him. It's not so much in physical form, but you will see where he stands on his catwalk looking down onto the second floor, and he will be up at his catwalk, and you'll see a blurry image of him, of his head, going down his shoulders to his arms. And I would say on our tour, probably 60 to 70% of the people who take our tour actually see the blurriness. Some people try so hard and they just can't see him because they're focusing their eyes too hard. But it's like, it's the same thing of, when you look out of the corner of your eye up at the stars, you could see a ton of constellations of bright stars. But the minute you turn to look at it, they're not there. They're faded back and they're hard to see. But you look out of your peripheral vision again and they're lighting up like they're tractor beams, And I'll be honest with you, the paranormal really doesn't scare me. I'm more of a cryptid UFO guy. Okay, but I would be hesitant to actually sleep in the barn. I really would, because there's a lot of strange things that happen in the Watson barn.
Dave Scott has spent years getting to know the spirits and makes them comfortable as visitors walk among them.
We got a lot of really cool ghosts and spirits around that are part of the activity. Like, for instance, when we go to a ghost tour, hours before the ghost tour, we're already preparing. We will send somebody into the buildings and say to the spirits, hey guys, we just wanted to let you know that we have a ghost tour tonight. Okay, there's going to be people wandering around. We would really appreciate it if you could help us out by giving these people an experience, because even though it may be inconvenient for you and you may not want to play, these people are helping keep your home safe. These people are donating money in order to keep your building together. So that way you always have a home here. if you don't want to go, you can always stay here.
Dave says that when the last visitor leaves 108 Mile Heritage Site, the silence that settles in doesn't feel empty. It feels occupied, because the road this site is on now carries something else. Instead of supplies and the miners dreaming of gold, it now carries energy. Memories of lives once lived and the weight of everything that happened here that was never properly put to rest. Thank you for joining me as we explored 108 Mile Heritage Site, and a massive thank you to Dave Scott for sharing his stories, knowledge, and his genuine passion for keeping this history alive. I really do appreciate it. If you want to experience this yourself, Dave runs ghost tours and paranormal investigations through Haunted 108, and you can find them through the website haunted108.com. And if you're in the Cariboo region, you absolutely need to visit 108 Mile Heritage Site. It is definitely one of the most unique paranormal tourism experiences in British Columbia, and I will link both in the show notes. Do you have your own ghost story, paranormal encounter, or true crime? If yes, email it to me so that I can cover it and share with the listeners on this podcast. You can email me through the website hauntedcanada.com. If this episode gave you the chills in the best possible way, please consider showing your support by buying me a coffee. The link is in the show notes. Every coffee helps to keep these stories coming. And if you want to support even more, stay tuned because I will be adding a Patreon very soon. Haunted Canada is sponsored by the Ebon & Ghost Tours. I will link the website in the show notes. Haunted Canada is written and produced by me, Nadine Bailey, with senior producer Dila Velasquez. Production and sound design is by Rob Johnston with help from Corey Price. If you would like to support this podcast, please follow, share, and tell a friend about this podcast. We would also appreciate a like and a 5-star written review. If you're on Spotify, tap follow. It helps more people find these Canadian ghost stories. Also, you can follow me on our different social media platforms, including TikTok and my YouTube channel, Haunted Canada. Hey everyone, I've got some exciting news. I will be hosting a haunted and paranormal tour of Ireland, May 22nd to 29th of 2027, in partnership with my friend Joanne at Expedia. We will be visiting haunted locations, staying in haunted castles, and exploring many historical places, all while delving into ghosts, hauntings, and paranormal activity. So be sure to bring your EMF readers with you. All information is posted on the website, hauntedcanada.com. And remember, space is limited, so book early. Thank you from all of us at Haunted Canada and Curious Cast. Have a good night, everyone, and stay haunted.